Somewhere between slate-gray skies and gunmetal seas, a hunter and a hunted are playing the oldest game in modern warfare. A U.S. supercarrier carves a white scar across the North Sea, while, far to the north, NATO aircraft stitch invisible grids across cold water with thousands of listening ears. Somewhere beneath that surface, a Russian submarine that would love nothing more than to eavesdrop on the loudest ship in the Atlantic. Welcome to the cat-and-mouse world of anti-submarine warfare, where the first one to be heard usually loses. If you're picturing a Hollywood captain shouting full ahead while a sonar operator yells about bearing lines, slow down. Real hunts are quieter, stranger, and much, much wider. Think chess across a sea the size of a continent. Only the pieces hide, the board moves, and the pawns drop little robots that listen for whales with attitude. The Norwegian Sea and the Greenland Iceland UK gap, the GIUK gap, if you want to sound smart at parties, have been the aquatic backdoor between Russia's northern fleet and the wider Atlantic since the Cold War. Back then, NATO kept a round-the-clock ear on Soviet subs slipping past Greenland, Iceland, and Scotland. Then the 1990s happened, the volume dial turned down, and everyone got distracted by the internet. That lasted until Crimea in 2014. Since then, NATO has been rebuilding its undersea surveillance muscle memory, buying new patrol planes, modern sonobuoys, and reminding crews that yes, the ocean is still very much a three-dimensional battlefield. So here's the picture this week. The U.S. Navy's newest and largest aircraft carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford, moves into the North Sea for operations with allies. To the north, maritime patrol aircraft surge, British P-8 Poseidon jets lifting from RAF Lossiemouth, American Poseidons hopping from Keflavik in Iceland, Norwegian jets out of Evenes. A French Atlantique 2 even makes the long haul to join the hunt. What looks like a flurry of random contrails is actually a carefully choreographed pattern, overlapping patrol boxes, sonobuoy fields dropped in grids, aircraft cycling to keep the water wired day and night. Meanwhile, destroyers and frigates comb the depths with towed arrays, and somewhere out there, a NATO submarine is silently tailing a suspect like a shark shadowing another shark. Why the fuss? Because a carrier strike group is a prize. Submarines can't realistically sink one without inviting a very bad day, but they can stalk, record, and learn, collect the carrier's acoustic heartbeat, map out how its escorts respond, note which aircraft take off, how often supply planes come and go, which frequencies light up when helicopters launch. That intelligence, times, reactions, signatures, is gold in future crises. If you're a Russian skipper, you'll take big risks for it. If you're NATO, you politely but firmly tell him, "Not today, Ivan. Let's talk tools." The P-8s aren't chasing periscopes with binoculars, they're laying down acoustic nets. Each sonobuoy is a disposable sensor. Some listen passively, others ping, and the clever ones work together so a whisper of propeller blade or the faint thrum of a pump jet turns into geometry. Bearing here, range there, target track forming like a ghost on the screen. Helicopters lift off destroyer decks to dip their own sonar like a fishing line, and ships tow mile-long arrays designed to hear a pin drop in a storm. Somewhere on a NATO ops floor, a watchstander's coffee is the consistency of motor oil, and the plotboard looks like a spider web. Meanwhile below, the submarine plays a different game. It rides the thermocline like a cloak, uses eddies to mask its noise, creeps into the blind spots between buoy fields, and occasionally stops dead to let the ocean's background hiss wash over its signature. It might even sniff the surface to track aircraft radar without showing a mast. To a good sub-captain, patience is a weapon. To a good ASW commander, pressure is. The goal isn't necessarily to kill, this isn't wartime, it's to localize and corral, box the sub away from the carrier, push it north, make it spend precious days not doing whatever it came to do. The surge you're seeing isn't a one-off headline, it's the product of a decade of NATO retooling for the undersea fight. The UK rebuilt a dedicated maritime patrol fleet around the P-8. Norway modernized its northern bases and sensors. The US keeps a rotating presence in Iceland precisely for this mission. France's aging but beloved Atlantique 2 keeps showing up like that veteran striker who can still score when it counts. And on the surface, the carrier's escorts, Aegis destroyers bristling with sensors, share data with allied frigates built for anti-submarine warfare. The network matters. Alone, each platform has blind spots. Together, they can turn a vast ocean into a manageable operating picture. On the Russian side, the interest is obvious. Newer Yasen-class cruise missile submarines are the jewel of the Northern Fleet. Fast, quiet, and armed to the teeth. Getting them out to the Atlantic, undetected, is the whole ballgame. That's why you see NATO lean forward whenever there's a hint of a boat near the GIUK gap. It's not panic, it's muscle memory. Find the trail, fix the contact, and, if needed, follow. The quiet part of all of this is that NATO subs are often already waiting. The loud part is when aircraft join in and the buoys start splashing. Here's where it gets interesting. A carrier isn't just a big target, it's a big magnet. Its presence lures adversary submarines like a porch light draws moths. That's not a bug, it's a feature. Carriers generate intelligence by existing. They force subs to reveal habits, routes, and, in the best case scenario, their acoustic signatures. Record a Yasen's voice print now, and you can teach sonars and machine learning to spot it later. Every hour, a Russian boat spends slipping past sonar curtains is an hour NATO analysts study and refine their playbook. In other words, the cat and mouse game is also a lab experiment, and both sides are the lab rats. Politically, the message is just as loud as the turbofans. When British, Norwegian, French, and American aircraft rotate over the same grid while a US carrier sails with local navies, it tells Moscow, this neighborhood watches. It also reassures coastal communities from Tromsø to Aberdeen that the North Atlantic is not a vacuum. Someone is always listening. For allies further south, it's a reminder that deterrence doesn't start at the pier. It starts 500 miles out, under a ceiling of low clouds, where no one but a handful of crews will ever see the work done. And yes, this is routine. That's the point. Sub-hunts have happened for decades. The difference in 2025 is timing and technology. With a war raging in Ukraine and tensions never far from the boil, a surge like this becomes a message event. It says that clever boats will be met with cleverer nets, that every attempt to peek inside a carrier's OODA loop will be logged, dated, and filed for future reference. It also says that NATO can scale up quickly. If this were for real, the next steps, more helicopters, more ships, more buoys, are hours away, not days. Of course, there's always the human side. Somewhere at RAF Lossiemouth, a crew chief has declared war on a coffee machine that loses fights to gravity. In Iceland, an American P-8 navigator has named one sonobuoy pattern croissant in honor of the French jet inbound, and the Norwegians are politely pretending that's not weird. A destroyer's sonar tech swears he can hear a whale judging him. Submariners, for their part, call all of this Tuesday. If you're looking for bravado, you won't find it. Just professionals, lots of rain, and a universal belief that dry socks are a human right. So, did NATO catch a Russian submarine? That's the wrong question. The right one is, did NATO shape the battle space and protect what mattered? By flooding the Norwegian Sea with sensors, by pairing ships and aircraft with silent allies below, and by forcing any prowling sub to burn time and options, the answer is almost certainly yes. The carrier group keeps its freedom to maneuver, the message is sent, the signatures are recorded, the game goes on. Undersea warfare rewards the patient and punishes the loud. This week's surge wasn't about pyrotechnics or dramatic photos. It was about a quiet, persistent pressure that says, we hear you. If the North Atlantic is a chessboard, NATO just placed more queens on the water and told a lurking knight to reconsider its next move. The ocean will keep its secrets, as it always does. But for now, the most important secret is that the hunters are very much awake. And if you still want a Hollywood ending, here it is. Somewhere, a captain whispers, "Hold course." The sea remains empty to the eye, and that's exactly how victory is supposed to look.